I really do want to get this workout in, and really this is the only time of the day where I can get it in. So if I don't get it in now, then it's just not going to happen. I quite enjoy what I do. I really like working out. So for me, it's just kind of, there's no other option. It's either get up at that time or don't go at all.
So, Ted, my earliest memory of you is us at school. And every lunchtime, we would go to the gym because we were the chubby boys.
We were.
It's like the chubby boy lunch club. And we would just be training hard. And to be honest, I don't think we really knew what we were doing, but we had a goal in mind of what we wanted to achieve. And a lot of guys our age at that time, everyone was playing football at like lunchtime. That was like quite a popular thing. And I don't know, I've been terrible at football always, but that was mainly because as a kid, I was just so fat that I just didn't do any sports. But yeah, but gym was great because gym was a place where I knew that if like I can work out here. It was chilled space. No one really else was in there. It was only really just me and you. And yeah, that was my earliest memory. And then I think after that, we continued training and we're training at physicals in Woodford. I then went off to uni, but you continue to be very disciplined and very consistent with your training. And mate, like you've definitely got the benefits of that now with how you've managed to stay in shape. So I definitely think that there's a lot that people can learn from that in terms of how you've managed your training with work life as well, and personal life, but also the different types of training that you've had. I know you've helped me out a lot with it as well, not only just with strength training, hypertrophy, CrossFit, and now obviously Olympic training as well. I know we talk about it a lot, and you know, obviously I follow your page on Instagram to see what you're doing, and that motivates me a lot as well, man. So that's the main reason why I wanted to get you on the pod, and I think you've got a lot to share on that. So let's kick off with, how did it all happen, mate? I know we were fat boys, but was there anything else?
Yeah. So going back to us, when we were at school, I was very much one of the kids who would play football because it was kind of the thing to do, and everybody else was doing it, and it was just time with your friends. But then throughout school, very, very quickly noticed that I was most of the time the bigger one in the group, and I thought, okay, I was fairly confident in myself, but then other kids start to make comments, and then you kind of start to doubt yourself, and then you think, all right, do I actually want to look like this? Like, is this how I should be feeling? And then, yeah, slowly got into the gym, started working out like during lunch breaks, and then realized that I much prefer doing that rather than playing football with the other lads. And then that just kind of carried on. So I just took on more and more like sport related activities. So then did a little bit of rowing. Like, this was all in school. Did a little bit of rowing, did a little bit of basketball, did a little bit of rugby, and then just realized that I actually enjoy fitness and I enjoy pushing myself and that feeling of kind of taking yourself to exhaustion. And then that's where it began, just from seeing the smallest amounts of progress. And then when, how old were we when we went to physicals? 17, 16, 17.
Around 16, yeah.
Yeah, so like I remember paying £300 for my annual membership that I'd saved up for like the little jobs that I was doing on the weekends.
Mate, I'll tell you now, it's definitely not £300 now, mate. I tell you that.
Is it not really? Has it gone up?
Mate, gym prices are through the roof these days.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. But physicals wasn't the fanciest of gyms. Like it was a house that someone converted into a gym. Basically, it was like a big house that someone had converted to a gym. A big shed, yeah. And Gurav, honestly, I remember, I remember this so clearly. I went to pay for my annual membership, £300. They gave me like this card that the girl at reception, Shelby, I think her name is, laminated. And then I went home, got changed, and went back to the gym again that very same day. And from then, it's been very, very consistent. Even in the early days where I didn't really know what was going on. Don't get me wrong, there were days, especially as I was beginning, where I thought, oh, I don't know if I want to go, like, don't really fancy it or whatever. Um, but they were few and far between. And some of that probably would have came from, not really knowing what I was doing. The first year and a half, 2 years, I didn't really have a clue. I just kind of went and thought, I want abs and I want a bigger chest and I want bigger arms. So I'll just hit abs and I'll do chest and I'll do arms. And that's as far as it went. Wasn't really thinking too much about nutrition or like recovery or anything like that. You know, there was no structure to it. It was just, oh, there's a pretty girl over there. I'm gonna go and do arms so my arms looks big.
No, so how did you then start getting real structure into your routines then?
So I remember there was a personal trainer there who used to work at physicals. This guy called Gary. I don't really speak to him anymore, but he was kind enough to write out a workout plan for me and my friend Matt, who I trained with, and did it totally. Yeah, did it free of charge. Just out like the kindness of his own heart. He was like, "Look, you boys obviously come in here like every single day. Let me give you some kind of structure to follow." It was like a real hard, like bodybuilding, for someone who's on like enhancement kind of workout. It was like 6, 7 sets of like shoulder presses and supersets and all this stuff. But then the good thing about it is that it allowed us to think about, okay, we need to have some structure to our workout. Um, and that was kind of where like the methodological like approach to fitness kind of came in, where I started to think about it's not just about doing what I want to do on that given day. There has to be a flow to it, and there's these things called rest periods, and your muscles need time to recover. And you shouldn't really be hitting every single body part every single day as hard as you can. So from then up until now, it's just been a very gradual increase in knowledge and yeah, just finding little bits out about training and learning things as I go along that now kind of, you know, looks like what I do now.
So from what I've seen from you, from obviously what you've been posting online and stuff, and just our chats, like you've covered different types of training. So why and how do you mix it up? What's the reason behind that?
So yeah, it's from the outside, it might look like I've kind of mixed it up over the years, but the first so yeah, we've been training since we've been, 17, 18. For the first 8, 10 years, it was all bodybuilding. The main aim was, I wanted to lose a lot of body fat and I wanted to be as lean as possible. That comes with its advantages and that comes with its disadvantages. And for a long time, that was the aim. I was like, I want to increase the size of my chest. I want to increase the size of my legs, and I got to a point where when I first started out, it was always, I just want to have abs. Like, I want to have abs, I want to have a nice chest, and I want to look lean. I want to look ready to go to the beach any time of the year. That was kind of the aim. And then I got there. I remember there's this one year, I got really, really lean. I got to like 4, 5% levels of body fat. Um, and I remember looking in the mirror and thinking, okay, what now? Like, okay, like this is great. Like I'm lean and I've achieved what I wanted to do, and like in myself, I thought I looked awesome and whatever. But where do I take it to now? Still carried on going to the gym, but just kind of lacked purpose and lacked like motivation. I didn't feel like there was any direction that I was going in. I could keep bodybuilding, but it'd only get me so far. And I got to the point where I think I reached a certain level within my size and in my physique where to put on any more size or add any more strength, it really would have been a lot of effort for very, very little return. So I thought, okay, I felt like I'd exhausted that avenue. And then there was a guy who approached me actually. This is when I was working in a Pure Gym in Park Royal, not too far from where my office is. And there's a guy who approached me. He did CrossFit, and he said, "Oh, like you'll be really good at this thing, like you should try it." I always looked at him thinking these workouts look insane. There's no way that I'm ever gonna do it. He's like, "No, no, no, like, trust me. Like you'll be good. There's a competition coming up. I want you to be on my team. I think you'll be really good at it." I politely turned him down. I said, "Look, I really appreciate it."
Yeah, mate. Sorry,
But
no.
yeah, I didn't want to give him just a straight no, but he did something that was very, very key. So I said to him, "Look, I really appreciate it, but bodybuilding is my thing. Like that's what I do. Like I'm just not into CrossFit at all. Like I just don't think I'm really built for it." He said, "Okay, fine. I've planted the seed in your mind now. Like I've told you about it. Think about it for a week and then get back to me." And I don't know why, but part of me kind of took not offense to it, but almost as if I've been called out. Like, what, so you're saying that you can't do this thing? Like, really? Like, you're here, you're here Monday to Saturday lifting all these weights, but you can't like do a little bit of CrossFit. You can't do this little workout or whatever. And I didn't see him for another 5 days. So for those 5 days, I'm thinking, where is he? Where is this guy? I'm ready. Like, I want to do this thing. Like, I got to prove to this guy that I can do this little CrossFit thing. So it kind of built up this anticipation of me just really wanting to not prove him wrong, but it was just to show him that I could do it. And then that's how I got into CrossFit. And then I started copying some of the stuff that he was doing, and then yeah, realized okay, I actually quite enjoy this. Like bodybuilding is fun, but I can still do this thing where I'm going to increase my cardiovascular fitness, my cardiovascular health. I'm still gonna stay big, but I'll be capable. I'll be able to move, and maybe I won't be as injured as much. And it's a new skill. It's something that's hard, and it will be a new challenge for me to work towards. So yeah, that's great. That's how I got into CrossFit. I did CrossFit for a year and a half, 2 years. It started off as needing to get ready for a competition. There's a competition called Turf Games that you can enter as an individual, as a double, or you can enter as a team of five. We entered as a team of five, which is kind of like a nice introduction into it because the pressure wasn't just on me to perform. There was a team of people around me. They were all very supportive, and yeah, in the lead up to that competition, I think we had about 3 months till the competition itself. I learned how not necessarily. I never got as far as learning how to correctly structure a CrossFit program, but I learned all the movements and I learned what you should do before and after, like certain exercises that you shouldn't mix together and ones that you actually should. Learning how to control, learning how to push to the point where I'm at red line, where I feel like I've got no more, and then being comfortable with just being in that area, being in that level of heart rate where it feels like my heart is about to burst out my chest. And if I push just 2% more, 3% more, then I'll probably pass out. But I can just stay here. I can stay here and I know everything's going to be okay. Yes, like my ears are ringing or like I can see red and my heart is pounding, but I know I'll be all right here. So that's kind of like the skill that taught me. Really just, yeah, feeling what it's like to push my body to its limits. But within CrossFit, there's Olympic weightlifting. So in CrossFit, I think anybody watching this, as you may know, there's rowing, there's running, there's weight exercises, there's squatting, there's jump rope, there's gymnastics, and there's Olympic weightlifting. The Olympic weightlifting part of CrossFit is the part that I enjoyed the most, where it was this mix of feeling purposeful, but also just really strong and just really capable. And again, it was something that was hard. It was a skill that I knew that I'd have to learn. So that's how I got into that. I did CrossFit for a while, and I started to get a little bit bored of it. Now that it's hard not to get injured with CrossFit because as I was saying before, like you are pushing your body to its limits on a weekly, monthly basis, and something's going to give after a while. So I thought, okay, I don't see myself doing this long term, but Olympic weightlifting is something that I can see myself doing for the next 10 years. And that's how I got into that really. So that's what I've been doing since then. It's what I continue to do now.
Yeah. You said that Olympic weightlifting is purposeful. What do you mean by that exactly?
Okay, it's all great to look big and aesthetically to look like someone who works out, but I think it's nice to be able to utilize your body in a way that's not just for vain purposes. Like I can actually move my body in a way that is skillful and that requires practice over time. It's definitely a skill. Not to take anything away from bodybuilding at all. Not to say that that is not a skill, but Olympic weightlifting is a skill in its own right, and it's not something that you can acquire just overnight. Learning a very, very basic movement can take, I've been doing it for coming up to 2 years now, and there's still every single session, there's still things that I come across, and I think, okay, I just need to kind of do this a little bit differently, or like I record myself and I play it back, and I think, okay, well, why am I doing this now? And you realize that you never get to a point where everything is perfect, and you're going to have some sessions where your technique is awesome, and you're going to have some weeks where your technique is just, dog poo. But it's about, on average, are you progressing? And for me, that's what I find quite satisfying, is that it has like this long term, never ending goal. And yeah, and every week you want to be perfect, and you have moments of perfection, literally moments, but that they don't last forever.
So how do you learn the techniques? Because obviously form is so important when doing this. How did you build that education to even know you were doing it right?
So it's with like any sport, you can get a coach, or you can go and do it yourself and kind of teach yourself through YouTube or Instagram, and that's pretty much what I did. You know, just watched a lot of like Olympic weightlifting athletes, or people who were just in the Olympic weightlifting world, and just kind of like looked and analyzed their technique a little bit and tried to see how they did it, and then tried to put it into practice myself, and very quickly realized that I was very, 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 very bad, and needed a lot of work at it. But how I learnt it was just from just doing it over and over and over again. Literally just starting from an empty barbell. Well, at first I didn't start with an empty barbell. I thought, oh yeah, that looks quite easy. I'll just put on 20 each side and away we go. Turns out it's not it's not as easy as that at all. Like when you watch these professionals, they make it look so effortless, to the point where you think, yeah, I can do that. It looks quite easy. But putting it into practice and trying to do it yourself is a different story. So yeah, how I learned it was just firstly setting myself up mentally to understand that, and go this kind of goes back to when we first started going to the gym. I remember at the beginning then, like, I remember saying to myself in physicals in a reception, I remember sitting down thinking, okay, you're nowhere near where you want to be, but if you stick at this thing for at least 2 years, you'll make progress, and you'll probably be where you want to be. So just make a deal with yourself now to dedicate yourself and do this thing properly, because it will take some time, but the more time that you delay, the longer it will take. So just stay consistent. And I had to kind of talk to myself in that same way when I started Olympic weightlifting. I thought, okay, you're going to be horrible at this. Just because you've gone to the gym and been in bodybuilding doesn't mean that you know anything about Olympic weightlifting. This is a completely new field. So just accept that you're going to be probably the worst in the room at doing this thing, but just be consistent, and eventually you'll pick up and your form will start to improve, and you'll get to a point where you want to be. Try not to think so much about the numbers. Obviously it's hard not to think about the weight that you lift when you go to the gym, because it's the easiest measure of progress. You can't put a number on your technique, or you can't put a number on your knowledge or your skill, but the weight is a very clear indication that at your of your progress, sorry. So I thought, try not to think too much about that. Just improve the technique and improve the feeling of it. But most importantly, you have to stay consistent. You can't just not do it because you don't feel like doing it. You have to stick at it. So that's how I learned it, and that's how I've been. Again, I'm nowhere near perfect at it, but that's how I've been. That's how I've been learning it.
Awesome. And how do you stay consistent, Ted? Because like obviously you work is right. Like you've got a full-time job and stuff, as well as doing your hobbies on the side and family time and personal time. How do you maintain your gym life?
So yeah, I used to, when we first started out, when I first started like going to the gym, I used to go in the evenings, but then realized, I'm burnt out most days, or I'm just lacking in energy from doing a full day's work. So then to then go into a gym, at 6, 7 p.m., which is going to be very busy because everyone else wants to go and get a workout, it was quite difficult. And I thought, okay, I really enjoy fitness. I don't want to give it up. I don't want this thing to get in the way of me not having a workout. There must be another way around it. And I used to work with a guy who said to me, look, like, start getting up at, 4:30, and go to the gym in the morning before anyone else is in there, get your workout done, and then come to work. I thought, no, I'm not doing that. Like, getting up at 4 a.m. I'm getting up at 4 a.m. to go to the gym. Like, no, 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 it's not for me. And every week I'd moan about how busy the gym was, and I'd moan about not being able to get on the equipment, and I couldn't get a full workout. He was like, trust me, start going to the gym early in the morning. It will be hard for the first couple of weeks, but you'll wake up, you'll get your workout done, and you'll be able to come to work and, you just kind of start your day. So I thought, okay, right, let me take him up on it. I tried it. The first day I tried it, yeah, it was hard getting up early in the morning. I prepared my stuff the night before and whatever. Got up in the morning, went to the gym, had a full workout. It was empty, had a full workout, managed to get all of my bits done, came into work, and I wasn't energized, I wasn't like bouncing, but I was ready. I was set. I was good to go. And then from then I thought, yeah, okay, this is me. I'm never going back to the gym in the evenings again. And that's how, for me, like, working a 9 to 5, it's how I can fit my workouts in, getting up early in the morning, getting it done, and then going to work from there.
How is that though? Waking up so early, like, what time are you going to bed?
So I've been doing it for so long now. I've been waking up. I've been going to the gym in the mornings before work for the past, I think, 9 years now, 9, 10 years. It's very much just routine. So yeah, my bedtime is 9 o'clock. I aim to be asleep by 9. Sometimes I go over by 10 minutes. Some days I'm just knackered and I think I'm gonna get into bed at like half 8, 8 o'clock or whatever. But yeah, I go to sleep at 9, and then yeah, wake up in the mornings at. So I've kind of fluctuated. I was really extreme at one point. I was waking up at like 3:45, 4 a.m. and I thought, okay, Ted, that's probably too much. Like, I think let's try and tone it down. So now I wake up at 4:15, and then I'm out the door by like 4:40, and I get to the gym for the 5 a.m. most days. And yeah, it's like, for someone who doesn't, if you're not used to getting up that early, for me, like, I wasn't used to getting up that early. It was tough because you're waking up when it's still nighttime and you're going to a gym. But the benefits of it outweighed kind of the want to stay in bed. For me, it was, I really do want to get this workout in, and really this is the only time of the day where I can get it in. So if I don't get it in now, then it's just not going to happen. And I quite enjoy what I do. I really like working out. So for me, it's just kind of, yeah, there's no other option. It's either that, or it's either get up at that time, or don't go at all. If I don't get me wrong, like, if, say I had a job or lived a lifestyle where I didn't need to be in an office, from 9 to 5, and I can kind of plan my day as I wanted to. To be honest, I'd probably still get up quite early. I'd probably still wake up at like 4:30, 5 a.m. One, because I'm just so used to it, and I just like the feeling of being in the gym when no one else is in there, getting it done before anybody else, and having the rest of the day to do what I want. And then in the evenings, so now when I come home from work, in the evenings, if I don't have anything on, I don't feel so guilty about just sitting there and watching Netflix or just having dinner, because I've worked hard for the whole day. And I know that I need to, the same is going to happen again the next day. So for me, it works. It works perfect.
Yeah, so just on that, like, do you get much like free time? Because I'm guessing you're up early, you'll smash gym, and then bang that all out, get that done, and then go to work, get that done, and then come home, probably eat, chill, whatever, and then you're getting ready for bed at 8 o'clock. Do you feel that you've had to sacrifice areas or things in your life to do gym life which you really enjoy and brings you happiness?
Yeah. So this is, I mean, we can go like quite far back on this. So there was definitely a point when I was in, and one of the reasons why I stopped bodybuilding is because I had, for all of the good things that I had developed, and the sense of discipline and the consistency, there was a lot of negatives that came with it as well. So with bodybuilding, it's about being as big as you can and being as lean as you can. And for me, like, I took that to an extreme, where I just wanted to be lean all the time, and I wanted to be big all the time, and I was so focused and so just kind of didn't want to be swayed along the path of getting there, that anything that would come up, any social plan that would come up that didn't fit in with that, I just wouldn't go. So if there were like drinks involved, if there was, if we were going to go to somewhere, and I was with someone at the time, I was in a relationship at the time, and obviously it impacted that in a negative way. If there was a dinner where I didn't know what I was going to be able to eat, I try to avoid it, or like I turn up later, or I'd come and I'd just like have drinks. Um, and yeah, that's not sustainable. You can't really do that. You can't really do that. So that was some of the negatives that came with bodybuilding. For me, I'm not saying that everyone will kind of go down this path, but it's good to be obsessed with something so that it keeps you focused and you're consistent. But I went too far down the obsessive route and had real tunnel vision and couldn't see anything else.
So how did you break out of that cycle of being overly obsessed?
I think I started to realize the impact that it was having on the people around me. I started to realize the impact it was having on my relationship, on the impact it was having on my friendship, and my relationship with my friends, my performance at work, my clarity of thinking, and realized that okay, I can't do this forever. This isn't sustainable. I can't live my life in a way where I'm scared to meet up with my friends for food, or I don't want to go on holiday because there's not going to be a gym there, or if I do go on holiday, there must be a gym there. Like there needs to be there needed to be some balance in it all, um, and I don't know. I can't remember exactly at which point this came. And I don't think this really happened up until recently. And by recently, I mean maybe the past sort of 3 years, 4 years, where I realized that it's okay to, if you want to, go and have a drink with your pals. It's okay to like really pig out on the weekends. It's okay to go on holiday and not train for 3, 4 a week, 3, 4 days or a week at a time. Um, and everything's going to be fine. Like you'll come back and all of the progress that you've made, all of the consistency, all of the habits that you've built in will look after you and you'll be back to where you were in no time. It really won't make any difference. And I'm trying to think of exactly when that happened. I think it was around the time where I broke up with my ex. So we were together for 8.5 years, and I think with any kind of, I think when you break up with somebody, when you've been with them for that long, or any amount of time really, when you have a big life change, it really kind of makes you reflect on everything that's happened before, and it makes you think about how you want to move going forwards. And for me, that was, the level of obsession that I had with the gym was definitely something that needed to be revisited or needed to be changed a little bit.
So Ted, how do you find balance within that now? Because mate, me and you've been out for drinks and dinners every time I'm back in London. So how do you structure your life now so it's well balanced all round?
So, if I wanted to, I could still have that approach of, yeah, I'm just not going to go out for drinks. I'm not going to go out for food, because I'm trying to get to this place, and doing these things is only going to slow me down. Yes, they are going to slow me down very, very marginally. In the grand scheme of things, it probably won't make that much difference. So how I structure my life now, so that I can still, live and do social and have social events, is Monday to Friday, and it's very easy for me as well because it's I don't have to think too much about what I'm going to be Monday to Friday. I'll eat pretty much the same food, so like I'll plan my meals for the week ahead, and I have like the same breakfast, the same lunch, and the same dinner. And then I change it here and there if I've been eating the same thing for too long and I just can't stomach it anymore. I just kind of flip and change it. And then on the weekends, Saturday, Sunday, I just eat whatever. And that's not to say, oh, I pig out and eat as much as I can. It's just, if you were to message me and say, yo, I'm going to be down in London, like Shoreditch, do you want to go for Mexican? I'm like, yeah, cool, no problem. And just like not think about it. But being able to get to that point where I'm able to go out and just not think about what I'm going to eat, I think that's taken a lot of work to think like it's okay, it's just one meal, it's not going to make any difference really. On Monday, you're going to be eating the same stuff again and everything will be okay. And that's as simple and as kind of common sense as that sounds. That's probably the bit that's taken me quite some time to work towards. Um, and there's been things that have happened along the years that have been quite key in allowing me to think that. I remember one day, right? So you watch sometimes that you watch these eating challenges on YouTube or whatever. Like Matt Does Fitness will do like a 10,000 calorie challenge or whatever. And I was like, I was at the end. I think I was coming up. I was like at the end of a cut, and I got like lean, and I was like, right, I want to treat myself. Like I've worked quite hard. Let's just try one of these 10,000 calorie days and just see what happens, right? So I remember I went to Waitrose and then got like as much food as I could, and I'm walking around the shop with like with my fitness pal, like making sure that it says 10,000 calories, all right? And this was on a Saturday. This was after the gym, so I was hungry. I was so hungry. I was just grabbing all of this food, went home, prepared it like over the course of the day, and I ate the 10,000 calories. I felt so bad the few days after, like consuming that amount of food in the short space of time. But nobody should do it. I felt so rough. But then, but then what happened? I was like, oh, I actually wonder what it's gonna do to my weight. Like, am I gonna put on weight? Am I gonna, what's gonna happen? I ate the food, and obviously the day after, I think I was like up a couple of kilos because hold on to loads of water, whatever. But then about 10 days went past, 2 weeks went by, and I was just back to the weight that I was at the beginning. It had no impact. It had literally no impact on my weight whatsoever. I was as just as if anything, I had more energy to give in a gym. It didn't do anything. But that was because I'm not to say that you can go and eat 10,000 calories, go about your life, and then everything will be okay. Is because after consuming that amount of food, I just got back to the routine. I just Monday, I was in the gym on Monday. I was eating the same foods again throughout the week. I was ticking all the boxes, and because I did that, things just kind of adjusted, and I was back to normal. And then that really made me think having a burrito with your pals isn't going to make any difference. Like having a glass of wine with your pals isn't going to make any difference whatsoever. So, calm it, Ted. Like it will be fine.
Yeah, mate, it's funny you say that actually. Look, I'm no Huberman, I'm no scientist here, right? But every year I come home for Christmas back to London, and I won't train for like all of December and a part of January. So there's like 6 weeks where I really don't train. I'll run now and then, but I regularly go to the gym, and I'll realize that I'll be eating shit. I'll constantly be eating shit, and I'll be going out drinking and socializing a lot more. And when I go back in January to the gym, like my strength comes down a bit, but my body actually doesn't change massively. And that's, I realized, because my metabolism's still up and it's still just processing things like normal. But this year I changed it. I had a shoulder injury, so I didn't train again in January. I only started training again back in February. And I realized that my body did change, and I was gaining weight so quickly because my metabolism had gone down. So I think, going back to your original point, what you were saying is that you just need to be consistent with it. And that consistency then allows your body to maintain it when you go off track as well. Again, I'm no scientist here, right? But that's what I realized about my body, is that I need to be consistent. But if I take 4 weeks off, it's not going to kill me. I'll be fine, and I can like get my gains back and also get my body back into shape as well.
Yeah, well, it's because you've learnt the skill of you've learnt the skill of getting your body to that shape, and you've learnt the skill of what needs to be done for you to perform and for you to kind of get back to a state that you were before. Whereas if you were a complete newbie and you'd never stepped foot in the gym, and then you obviously you just ate bad for a period of time, you just don't know what to do to then help you shed some of that weight or get your strength back up or get your fitness back up. But because that's kind of programmed in you, you're like, right, okay, I'm gonna just do the thing again and then get a couple of weeks, and I kind of be there again. It's kind of like the old adage, or like what people say about millionaires, or these super super skillful rich people. It's like, if you were to wipe all of their money away, give them some time, and they'll probably be rich again because they know how to do it. They know how to kind of they know the steps that are needed to be taken to kind of get back to that state again.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate, 100%. And Ted, just go back on what you were saying, like newbies in the gym. Like, we had no idea what we were doing in the gym, mate. Like, I was taking pre-workout supplements and creatine, not knowing what the hell what it was doing. I was just taking it for the sake of it, because I wanted to get big. But like, for people that want to get into the gym, they've never done it before, or they've been going gym for some time, but they haven't really been taking it seriously. What advice and tips would you give them based on the extensive training that you've done over the years?
I would say, okay, first and foremost, I'd say decide what it is that you want to do in the gym, because I think I can only speak as a guy. I think for most guys, you get in the gym and you think I'm just gonna lift weights. I just want to be big, right? But then, I didn't know CrossFit was a thing. I didn't know powerlifting was a thing. I didn't really know a ton about gymnastics. All I knew was bodybuilding. So I'd say the advice that I'd give to people wanting to get in the gym is just try a little bit of everything first. Do a little bit of bodybuilding, do a little bit of CrossFit, do a little bit of powerlifting, do some Olympic weightlifting, and then go, okay, or do rowing, do running, just try a little bit of everything. And then from there decide, okay, what is it that I actually want to spend, what I want to focus on. And the reason why I say that is because I think if I started off Olympic weightlifting when I was 18, I would have progressed. I would have achieved so much more. But it's not until now that I realize I really like this thing that I've kind of stuck with it. So I'd say do that, and keep things simple. I think social media, Instagram, YouTube are great platforms to use to educate yourself on what it is that you need to do in the gym. But the downsides of them is that there are people on there who are running businesses essentially. A lot of these influencers, they're running businesses, and you might come across a program or a particular style of workout or way of training that looks really complex or that looks really hard to achieve. Um, but they're designed like that on purpose because, I have this thing, and if you do this thing, if you buy it off me, you'll get these results. And they kind of stick a price on it when really like it the things that you need to do in the gym to get to a place where you want to be are just really, really simple. Turn up, every day, if you train 4, 5, 6 days a week, do the same things over and over again, eat the correct food over and again, work out correctly over again, and you will get the results. It doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be complex. What will get you the results that you want is the consistency, is by doing the same, squatting program week in and week out, is by doing like the same chest or like back workout, whatever, week in, week out. But by trying to make small, small, small improvements along the way, not by drastically changing things or doing to all these hard to master kind of movements or skills or whatever. Just really keep it simple, even with your nutrition. As what I was talking about with people on social media who try to overcomplicate nutrition. Just do what works best for you, and then just keep doing that consistently. It really is as simple as if you wanna put on weight, you got to eat more calories than what you're expending throughout the course of a day. If you want to lose weight, you got to eat less calories than what you're expending over the course of a day. Calories in, calories out. It really is just as simple as that. Um, don't think too much about, should I be eating dairy, or should I eat at this time or have this at that time, or 30 grams of protein here and there, or I've just finished my workout, I need to have like my protein shake now, now, now. Like, relax, relax, relax. Like just keep it simple, because when you keep things simple, they're easier to stick to. If things are really kind of easy to get your head around, you can sustain that over the course of the year. Whereas something that's really complex, something that you can't really understand, something that's just seems so difficult, it'll be hard for you to stay consistent with that over the course of a year. So I'd say that figure out what it is that you want to do in a gym, and then just keep things really, really simple. Even down to things like, so I noticed this in myself when I first got into the gym, like when we were bodybuilding, and the same with CrossFit, and the same with Olympic weightlifting. I would try to consume as much information as I could from anyone. So I'd ask anybody and everybody who was into the gym. I'd watch all of the YouTube videos and anybody I can find, because at the time I thought, oh, I just want to learn as much as possible, and then I'll condense all of that and then kind of make it work for me. But then what happened was I was taking in so much information that it was hard to really focus on going on the path that I really wanted to go down. So then I said to myself, all right, just find one or two, like fitness gurus or like YouTube influencers, and just do what they say, and but don't do any more. And that works so much better for me. So there's these two guys that I watch on YouTube. This guy called Joe Delaney, and then this other guy, Jeff Nippard. I was like, I'll just watch their stuff, and then I won't watch anything else. And because the rest of it is just kind of noise, and it's creating confusion for me. Because one person says one thing and the other says this. One person says, you want to train within a 46 rep range only and focus on strength, and that will get you gains. And then the other one's like, no, 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 like you want to do this and take 30 seconds rest. And it's okay, find what works best for you and then just stick to that consistently. If you do something that you're happy with, if you do something that makes sense to you, if you do something that brings you joy, you're more likely to stick to that than trying to force yourself to do something that works for somebody else.
Yeah, and 100%. I'm completely with you on that. I think even for me, like consistency is so important because there's times where I'm like, all right, I'm not going to go to the gym today. I had a really long day at work, or I had a really shit night's sleep. I'm not going to go. And that's probably the worst thing to do is not go, because then the next day I'll be like, I didn't had another long day. Again, had another shit night's sleep. I'm not going to go today. I didn't go yesterday. So let's just start again next week. And then you lose that momentum and that consistency, but really just turn up, just still go. Don't do what your full workout or what you were going to do. Like if you were going to do 4 sets, just do 2 or 3. Just do something to keep that cycle going, and you feel good about yourself afterwards as well, and that just keeps the endorphins going, and yeah, it's just the consistency at the end of the day. And again, I think simplicity again is great from what you said. I follow one guy. Other than you, Ted, I follow one guy called Dickerson Ross on Instagram. He's fantastic. I downloaded his. Oh, Obi as well. My boy Obi Vincent. I'm trying to get him on the pod. Like he's also great. He's got some really good programs as well that people should check out. Because you're right, man. Otherwise, you just go off piste and people start saying random shit about diet as well, and then you just just get confused, and then again it gets overcomplicated, and you don't know what you're doing in the gym, etc., etc. Another thing's really important, and again it's us, is like with your mates, like share stuff with your mates and how your progress is going, and they'll give you advice on how their progress is going, and you guys can relate and talk about it as well. I think that's always really helped me out. It's just communicating with my peers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's hard to sometimes because I think other than you, so there's you. I don't really have like none of like my mates are like into fitness like that. So for me, it's hard to kind of do that and be like, oh, like I've done this, or like I've hit this PB or whatever. But definitely, if you've got people around you who are also into the same thing, like have like a bit of an ecosystem where you're just kind of sharing energy.
Mate, because I travel a lot, right? I actually make a lot of mates in the gym. Like, not that I would see them outside of the gym, but I would see them in the gym, and then we'll always just end up talking about stuff, and they're like, gym friends. And we just speak to them about stuff and whatnot as well. Like, I think that's another good thing about, and that COVID really opened my eyes up about that. Because when I was going to the gym, I would communicate with people. I'm outside of the apartment, and I'm able to mingle and stuff, and then you end up bumping into them on nights out when you're out for dinners and stuff, or walk into meetings. So I think gym's such a great place from a social perspective, man.
From a point of view of just like networking or like meeting people or just making friends, like for me, it's been awesome. A lot of the friends that I have now, a lot of the people that I speak to, I've met them in a gym. And that's because I think when you see someone that's very much into what it is that they're doing and they're consistent and they're having fun while they're there, you kind of gravitate towards that person if you're that way inclined, and you think, okay, what are they doing? What's this person about? And that's how it's been for me. Like I've got people who one of my very 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 good friends now. I've met him in a gym. We used to go to the same gym for about a year and a half, and then we just got talking. He actually offered me a job, went to see his office and stuff, and it just didn't work out. It was like cool, like no hard feelings, but you seem like a cool guy. Let's keep in touch. And then we've just kind of been pals since. And then a few weeks after that, 3 weeks after that, he goes skiing quite a lot. He goes like 2, 3 times a year, and he said, "Oh, I'm going skiing. Like I just want to get away for a bit. Do you want to come with?" And at first I thought, hang on, I don't really know this guy. Like he's gonna, who is he? Bearing in mind, this guy, he's like 6'6" and he's huge, right? And he was, "Oh, do you want to come skiing with me?" And I'm thinking, I'm not sure if I want to, but my automatic response was like, yeah, let me just check my calendar and let me get into the office. I'll check my calendar and I'll let you know. I knew it had nothing on the days that he mentioned, but I was thinking, I just need some time. I just need some time to think about this, you know? And then I can't remember who I spoke to about it, but I was like, yeah, cool, let's just go. Like, it's either going to go one way or the other. Like, we're either going to get on or we're going to be best pals, or I'm going to think this guy is just not for me, you know, thanks, but no thanks. And we went, and it was awesome. It was so much fun. Like, we didn't stop talking. So like we flew into Venice, and then we spoke on the plane the whole way there. We spoke in the car when we were at the hotel. Like, we had picked this really nice hotel. Like, we went out for dinner, like had a couple of drinks and stuff, and we were just talking loads, and found myself really finding it really easy to just open up to him, and I think he found the same. We spoke about everything. It started off, you know, why are you into the gym so much? Because he was getting into the gym even earlier than me. He was getting in. I was getting to the gym at, you know, these days at around 4:30, and he was there like working out. He had been there. So yeah, like I asked him how, like, why are you into I was like, why are you into it so much? And then we spoke about, yeah, like relationships and childhood and business, and just yeah. And now he's probably one of my best friends. Yeah, really good guy. So yeah, it goes to show. I think yeah, the gym is an awesome place to just connect with people because you're already in the space with people who do the same thing that you do. So off the back, yeah, off the back, you've got loads in common. Chances are you're gonna have the same mindset. If you're in a gym at 4:30, chances are that you kind of think, you know, in the same way as that other person. So yeah, it's a very easy place to meet people and make connections.
No, beautiful, man. Yeah, it's a very positive space as well. And just on that, Ted, I know me and you talk quite a lot on a personal level. Like, how do you feel that your gym routine, the things that you've learned from the gym, the progress that you've had in the gym as well, and the discipline that's come from it, how has that been applied to other areas of your life? And has that been done subconsciously?
It's definitely more recently it's been done more on a conscious level, but for a long time it was definitely subconscious. So, you know, as I was saying before, like in the gym, it's about doing the very simple things, but just doing them over time, but just never being consistent with them, like never stopping doing them, always just doing those very small things. And at the end of it, you know, you'll get to the place that you want to be probably a lot quicker. And started to think about, oh yeah, you know, when you apply that same logic to a professional environment, so like a work environment, it's the same skill and the same kind of frame of mind that you need to have. It's like, you know, with work or within business, you're going to have these moments where you have like, you know, record days or you have like really breakthrough meetings or whatever. But from your individual performance, it's about on a daily basis doing the best that you can and improving things where you can. Not big, massive improvements, but just small things over time. Um, and knowing that, okay, like I just need to stick at it. If I stop or if I kind of get lazy, then obviously that's going to have an impact on my work, and the same with the gym. And with relationships, I think it's made me think about a lot more. Like in my past relationship, I was semi under the impression that, you know, I had to do these big, thoughtful things for my partner to really get a sense that I cared for them or loved them, and kind of forgot about all of the small things. When really it's about, I think, and funny enough, like I'm with someone new now, and really thinking about it's not about those big gestures all the time. It really is those small, consistent actions and those small things that you say over time that kind of helps you sustain that relationship. So it's not about, you know, oh, I'm going to take you to this lovely dinner in the city and doing that once a month. Or, oh, yeah, let's go on holiday and let's do that. It's just daily, like, you know, good morning, good night, how are you? How was your day? Have you had anything to eat today? Just like being mindfully of the other person in those really small ways and not forgetting about those neither, but being consistent at it as well. So it's all well and good for 1 week, you know, making your partner breakfast in bed or doing all these nice things, but it's just about it's about those really simple, consistent things over time. I think that would I'm finding that would kind of help me have a stronger connection with that person. And that comes from, yeah, in the gym, it's like, if I want to get to this place, or I want my body to look a certain way, I want to perform a certain way, I have to do these things over time. It's all well and good going to the gym one day and have like a 3 4 hour session and burning like 2 3 thousand calories, but then over a period of time, that's not really going to do anything. Whereas going to the gym and having a good workout for like an hour and a half or whatever over the course of a week, every single month, that's what's going to get me the most progress.
100%, mate. 100%. How about in your work life? Has it impacted that at all?
My success is going to be determined by how much effort I put in. Um, so the harder that I decide to work, the more progress I'll make, and probably the more recognition that I'll make. And I remember in the gym, actually, I remember in the gym thinking, I remember when we first started going to the gym in physicals, or maybe towards the end, because I left physicals and went to another gym. I remember thinking, all I need to do is be the hardest worker in the room. That's what I need to do. I just need to be the hardest worker in this room. As long as I do that, then the chances are I'm going to make a lot of progress. And the chances are, like, I'll get to where I want to be quicker. And maybe I'll get recognized by somebody or whatever. And then apply that same logic to the workplace. And I thought, I just need to be the hardest worker in this room. And by the room, that could mean this meeting, it could mean this conference, it could mean the four walls or this office that we share. But to whoever is kind of monitoring or looking at my performance, I need to outshine everybody. And that's kind of the thing that I learned from the gym. I was able to apply that to work as well, and it's worked well for me. Um, yeah.
Yeah, mate. No, completely agree with you on that point, man. The more you put in is the more that you're going to get out at the end of the day. But Ted, I want to understand. Obviously, I've known you for a number of years, but like, I really want to understand why you the way that you are. Obviously, you're very disciplined. You're very outcome driven as well. Very diligent. Also, how did that come around? What's your story?
So growing up, being like a bigger guy, I always wanted to be in shape. And then getting into the gym was a way that obviously allowed me to do that. And then I found myself really easy. Sorry, I found it really easy to become disciplined and to be consistent, but never really understood where it came from, or why I felt like it was just so effortless for me to do that. And then just didn't really think too much into it. Carried on throughout the years, but then as time went on, I really wanted to discover, okay, why am I like this? Why do I get so obsessed, and why do I have this need or have this want for other people to like see the hard work that I've been putting in? And a lot of it just kind of boils down to childhood. So yeah, I used to live with both mum and dad. I was born in France.
Mate, you were born in France. I did not know that, man.
Yeah, I'm French.
I know you can speak French. But I didn't realize you were born in France.
Yeah, I was born there. When I came to England, Gaurav, I couldn't speak English. All I knew.
Okay, you can. I didn't know that.
When I moved here, I remember I was having this conversation with my girlfriend last night. So I remember when I moved to the UK, I went to a school in Barkingside, Federal Primary School. I only knew two English words, yes and no. That's all I knew. I didn't know anything else. I was in year three, and I remember in the playground, and the kids are telling me, asking me stuff. I don't know what they were saying. And I remember thinking, all right, do I say yes or do I say no? Yes, yes, no. And then I thought, okay, I've said no a couple of times. Let me say, okay, yes, yes. I, yeah, I had no idea. I couldn't speak the language at all. But then from being around other kids and from like watching English TV and from being in school, picked up the language and was able to speak it within about 6 months, 6 7 months. I was fluent in English. But yeah, like yeah, I couldn't. I remember, this man, I remember just the confusion that came with being in a classroom full of kids that were talking a different language and just wasn't able to understand them. But yeah, so then yeah, we moved to England when my parents broke up, and was just at home with mum. And I think the relationship that I have with my mum now is not like your traditional, typical mother son kind of relationship. There was a lot of nurturing that I felt that I didn't get at a young age. Um, and as time's gone on, I started to think, okay, what kind of impact has it had on me? Has it had on me as an adult? And has any of that got to do with like this sense of discipline that I have, or this need to be consistent, or to really push myself and be ambitious or whatever? And I think some of it is that, but I also think that some of it is because my dad was a very reliable, disciplined, consistent, wise person. And I didn't realize how much of an impact he had on me as an adult. And it's not until I went and got some therapy that we were just digging into things. And I think, like, as always, a lot of how you are as an adult can be traced back to your childhood. And I was talking to my therapist, and he was saying, okay, so you're telling me that your dad was XYZ. To me, it sounds like you're wanting to impress your dad. It was obvious that your dad was such a strong role model in your earlier days that you kind of want to emulate him and you want to make him proud still in some way. Wasn't sure about it at first, kind of sat on it, left the session and had a couple of days to reflect, and I thought that kind of it makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah.
As my days have gone on, as I go about my life, the person who I think about most of the time is my old man, my dad. I think he was, for me, he was the ideal example of what a human being, of what a man should be like, and in some way, subconsciously, I had been trying to replicate that. So, but then it's interesting because my dad was like never into fitness. He wasn't like a guy banging weights or whatever. He was just a very, very consistent, very disciplined guy. And I think that's where that side of thing comes from.
Are you still in contact? Are you still in contact with your dad?
So my dad passed away. My dad passed away about
Mate, sorry, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that.
no, 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 it's cool. It was about 7, 8 years ago now. But so when we moved to England, he stayed in France. So I'd see him over the holidays. Like whenever we were off at school, half term, I'd go to France. During the summer, I'd go to France and spend time with him. Um, but yeah, so yeah, in my adult life now, I'm thinking maybe I'm pretty sure that's where a lot of that comes from. They say, like, as I was talking to my therapist as well, he says, most people in life they have a role model, whether that role model comes from your parents, whether it comes from the movies that we watch, the music that we listen to, the people that we go to work with or go to school with. You have a role model, and you use that as your blueprint for the person that you want to be, and that person was my dad. So I think a lot of the sense of discipline that I have, and the need for consistency and just wanting to be organized and getting obsessed into things, I think a lot of that comes from him, definitely. But I think I've took it and kind of ran with it. Sometimes it's taken me to levels, sometimes it's taken me to places that have been unhealthy, but I've definitely kind of stretched it out a little bit.
No, beautiful, mate. Look, and I'm sure he's looking down on you, mate, and he's very proud, as we all are, man. So, well done on all of your growth, mate. 100%. And also, thanks for mentioning going to therapy, mate, and being open about that. I think people, especially men our age, should be doing more of that. And dealing with the things that they're going through, mate. It's always good to get that out there and understand why we are the way that we are, so we can grow from that.
Yeah, because I think from that, like, I think from having an understanding or having a better understanding of why you do things in a certain way and who you are as a human being. I think for me anyway, it made me feel more confident, and it took a lot of the kind of uncertainty or a lot of the confusion out of it, because there's things that I would do. I'd turn up to social events, and in my mind, I thought, oh, I'm just excited. But I'd be sitting there and like my palms will start sweating, and then like my pits are going. I can feel my heart rate going. I can feel myself overthinking, like, are they watching how I'm sitting? Or like, are they looking at me breathe? Am I eating funny and whatever? And I just took that, I was, oh, I'm just excited. I'm just excited to be with these people. But it's not until I went to therapy and then that I realized that, okay, I'm dealing with a little bit of social anxiety. And then you start to work. Now that when you can understand what it is, I was able to think, okay, where does that actually come from? And then again, it kind of goes back to your childhood. But moving forward, you know, if that does happen again, or when it happens again, I know what it is. I'm not just confused. Like, why am I feeling like this? I know that, okay, I'm just feeling a little bit anxious right now. There's a couple of techniques, a couple of practices that I can do to kind of make myself feel better. But just knowing what it is already just kind of makes you feel more at ease. So yeah, I recommend it to absolutely anybody.
Just very briefly, mate, what are those techniques that you enforce when you're feeling anxiety rise?
So there were the two things. There were two things that my therapist told me to do. He said, "Okay, when you're in conversation with somebody next, he said, go home, speak with your family members and speak with your friends. I want you for 5 seconds to focus only on what you're doing. Just for 5 seconds, just focus only on what you're doing, and then assess how that made you feel. And do the same thing, but for the next 5 seconds, focus only on what the other person is doing, sorry, and assess how does that make you feel." And in the 5 seconds where I was thinking only about myself, I just felt like I was completely disconnected from the conversation. I felt like I wasn't showing respect to the other person because I wasn't listening to what they were saying. And I just didn't want to do that. It felt very rude. It felt very alien. But I had a thought was, well, that must have been what I've been doing for so long, just over analyzing what I'm doing. Whereas what I should be doing is focusing on the other person and focusing on what they're saying and what they're telling me, and what is their body language communicating, and not only hearing but really listening and taking in what they're saying, not just hearing them for the sake of responding, but just trying to understand where they're coming from. And then even if it means, having to sit with that for, a second or two until I digest it and can come up with an adequate response rather than just saying things for the sake of saying things. And breathing, honestly, just breathing. The second thing is just breathing. And that's something that I've kind of figured out by myself, is just learning to just breathe deep from my diaphragm rather than breathing through my chest. Just take 3, 4, 5 deep breaths, and that usually, works. It doesn't bring me back to a completely neutral level, but it definitely calms me down.
Ted, that's beautiful, and thank you for that. Whenever I had people on the pod, I always want them to leave a message for others. What would yours be?
Anybody watching this podcast or listening to this podcast is going to be someone who I assume, lives in a country that is developed and is in a mind frame of wanting to develop themselves. And something that has really helped me, not just in fitness, but in work and in relationships, is really learning to be accountable for my own actions and making myself responsible for the positive and negative outcomes of anything that happens to me in life. So I think we go through certain things, and sometimes it may seem like things just happen to us. But I recently, the past 3, 4 years, I've always tried to think, okay, what could I have done differently? Even if it means that, my partner isn't the partner that I want them to be, or things aren't going well at the gym, or, my business is underperforming, or whatever it may be. Instead of looking at external factors or things external that are going wrong, self-reflect and look in the mirror and think, well, what could I have done differently? If I had done this, would the outcome been the same? Could I have maybe, spoken to her a little bit in a nicer way? Could I have just woken up a little bit earlier? Could I have tried a little bit harder? Or could I have gone to sleep earlier? Or, should I put more thought into making that spreadsheet? Or can I have communicated a bit clearer in that meeting? Things are always going to happen to us. That's a given, but we all have a choice, and we all have things that we can do, and we have a certain amount of control over how we decide to move through the world. So I think for me, and for anybody watching this, I think it's quite key to always self-reflect and think, what could I have done differently, and then do that thing moving forwards. It's very easy to kind of blame other people, right? It's very easy to kind of say, well, I didn't go on that holiday because of COVID, or I didn't get that promotion because that other person was better than me, or, I wasn't able to lose weight because, it was raining or whatever. But there's always something that you can do. There's always a certain amount of change that you can make, or things that you can input to your daily life, that will allow you to get to where you want to be. Sorry. But yeah, again, this is I really understand that, if you're someone in a third world country, if you're someone who's living in a country that's war stricken or whatever, you know, that's kind of different. If you're watching this, then you're chances are you're from a privileged point or state of life, and wanting to improve yourself. So yeah, that would be my message.
Beautiful, mate. No, thank you. That was such a really good message, mate. And thanks for jumping on the pod, man. You've covered so much from all different areas of life as well. And I'm really, really grateful for you doing that, man. So thanks for taking out the time, Ted.
Thanks for having me on, man. Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, I hope I've come across in a good way. It is a little bit. It's the first. I've never done a podcast before. I've spoken to camera before, but it's only been me, you know, talking to myself. And it's a little bit different when you're, you know, when it's recorded and you're talking to somebody else. But I've enjoyed it. Yeah, it's been cool. I wanna do this again.